Welcome to the Mucked Up My Self-Care podcast.
I'm Jill from New York.
And I'm Linda from Tasmania.
We are two moms from opposite sides of the world who are living, demonstrating, and helping moms across the world build their self-care asset bank.
Ready to dive in? Messy, interrupted, imperfect, and most of all mucked up. Let's get going.
Hello.
Hello, Jill. 99.
No, my goodness. You're just creeping
Yeah,
up.
I almost want to imagine 99 balloons around us all. Like
The red ones?
Yep. Or pink, yellow.
There we go.
Pink and yellow, maybe. Yeah. No, welcome back to anyone who's joining us for our 99th episode. This is very exciting. We are ramping up for our 100th episode, which
Very
is
excited.
just around the corner. And if you haven't joined us before, we start each episode with highs and lows because self-care and mucking up and motherhood has all the angles, and we like to celebrate both of those. All of those each time that we get together as well. Yep. So, Jill, do you want to go first?
Sure. Okay. Let's see. My low is going to be, I'm so freaking tired lately. So freaking tired.
Yep.
And I will say this, my husband has pointed out that I've been going to bed early, and he's usually the one to fall asleep on the couch. And I have taken over that title now.
Woohoo!
Yeah.
Yay!
I don't know if I'm proud about it.
Yep. You wake up all stiff and sore and you go, oh, why did I do that? Why didn't I just go to bed?
I have to say, we have a very comfortable couch, and that is probably why.
Yes. No, that's good.
So easy to fall asleep on it. But it's, it's also a very challenging time for us to be going through that, with me being so tired and feeling like I'm neglecting him. Oh, let's turn volume off so that does not disturb us again. Sorry. So it's a big challenge, like that uncomfortable of, well, who's responsible for making moves? And I'm just going to go to sleep instead. Where do we have a relationship fit into mom being tired after doing all the things that she does all day and getting no self-care?
Yeah.
So,
yep.
That's the low. So I know y'all can relate. And my high is that a couple weeks ago, I went and did a self-care night at my girlfriend's plant shop. And I knew ahead of time that a news reporter was going to be there to take photos and do an article for her on it. I didn't know what the article was going to be like. And this past week, it came out in the paper. So
my gosh.
This is my girlfriend Candace. I'm showing on the screen. Sorry, guys. Maybe we'll get a clip of this, of her in the paper. And then there's actually like an article piece about me, and I'm in the paper.
Oh, it's tiny. I can't quite see.
I'll have to get a really good
you have to send me. Send me a shot.
But I was so excited to be in there.
Oh my gosh.
I wish there was more for her, celebrating her. And the article highlights like 4 different places that you can go and do activities, because it's the Exploring Long Island section of our local newspaper. So it was just very not what I expected. I thought the article was about her, and I didn't realize to have so much written about me. And I feel like it should have been the opposite, but I was very honored. Everyone's like, you're famous now. I'm like, dude, calm down. I've been in the paper before. Not a big deal. And this was all before I even read the article. Now I'm like, oh, wow, look at all this. I am famous.
Oh, I'm so happy for you.
Exciting. And
very, very old school too, to be in the newspaper now.
Right?
Which, it feels like it.
I can't even get the online copy because you have to subscribe to get it.
Oh,
so
of course.
I can't even share it because I'm not a subscriber.
Yeah.
All right. But
Yep.
anyway, highs and lows for you, Linda. I would love to hear what you have going on.
Let's see. I'm going to start with a low as well. For me, I'm also feeling really exhausted as well. I've started a bit of a Sunday read day where I've just been reading a lot on Sundays.
Ooh, I like that.
So I think I'm already on to my 8th or 9th book this year, which has been pretty
Nice.
cool. And yeah, just at the same time, just noticing how I don't know whether it's a change of season or just something that's going on right now, but I just need really early nights, which isn't always like me because I'm usually the night
Night owl. Yeah.
owl and more. But then when I do get a longer sleep, it's sometimes quite restless and I wake up almost with a sleep hangover of going, "Oh
Mhm.
my gosh, I needed that sleep, but now I need more." And
Yeah.
I yeah, so it's I still need to find a bit more balance and obviously catch up on years and years of not having any sleep. So, just trying to work on that a little bit more for my own good as well. And my high, um, let me think. I think for me, it's just watching the kids coming into their own interests and things like that. So Alex is just finishing up cricket. Josh is just starting orienteering, which he absolutely loves.
Mm.
The little kids are doing their own little mini golf games and all that sort of thing. So yeah, it's just a very vague but overall enjoyment of them at the moment. So
I get it. I get it. Oh, man. Well, I am still super excited about our 99th episode and what that means is coming next for our 100th episode. And if you have not heard us talk about it, we do have a special
yes.
episode coming out for it. What is today? Today that we're going to be dropping this episode. It's actually the
16th.
day
Yep.
before we are going to get together with some friends to record our 100th episode. But what I'm liking is that we're not just collaborating, you and I now, Linda. I'm like putting this
Mhm.
together, but for the 100th episode, we're going to be collaborating with some of our listeners now to make that
Mhm.
episode what it is. And maybe then some other people will get to see firsthand how we think this time together that we get to share is collaborative and technically self-care for us.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Excited to
Yeah.
share how that looks.
Yeah, exactly. And so let's talk about collaboration and self-care and what that has
Mhm.
looked like for us. Obviously, this podcast is a big part of our collaboration in growing together.
Yeah.
And I definitely think I've seen a lot of what is possible in these conversations
Yeah.
as far as our own growth goes, as far as what is possible when you get thrown in a little bit,
Mhm.
like we did. But if you could, in a nutshell, explain what this collaboration has meant to you, well, how would you explain it?
Mm. You know, I came into this collaboration thinking it would be good practice, right? Not realizing, not
Mhm.
expecting the kind of growth that we've had, not just in the collaboration, but in our relationship, in what
Yep,
we take out
yep.
of each episode, and what
Mm,
we're able to bring into each episode for each other and outside of our recording spaces. I think there's been a lot of direction for us through our mastermind for collaborating to make sure that we're doing it where we keep our relationship intact regardless of what happens through this podcast. but also that we keep learning to do great collaboration together.
Yep.
Because there's collaboration and there's like a good collaboration. And I think we are on the road for a good collaboration. And
what makes a good collaboration then, do you think?
I think it's the relationship that is built, in that you and I could probably butt heads and be still walking away from something with everything still intact, because we know we've protected our relationship versus this plan. The plan is something that we just follow the rules on so we can protect our relationship in this. So I think that's a good collaboration, is, we're both mutually beneficial from every aspect of this, and we don't get hurt along the way. What are your thoughts?
Do you how does collaboration work for the I don't want to use that word. How does collaboration work for a mum who is listening to this podcast right now?
How did it work for us, Linda? We didn't really know how to go into this, and we started out with what our first exercise was, figuring out why we would want to even do this podcast, both of us separately. And then we did a Venn diagram, right? Is that what they're called? I forget what the two circles that overlap, and you got to figure out which of our things were like solely us, and then which things matched up, right? So it's really finding like why, like where do our whys match up first? Because I don't know if we can go into a collaboration without being aligned in some way. So,
what about for when you're trying to collaborate in those, like I was just saying about my kids' activities, right? So orienteering is one of those things where there's 4 or 5 boys that all want to do orienteering, and so we've organised a bit of a car taxi shift where you take 1 week, I take the next week, you take another week, I take another week. And that's been amazing to just watch all that fairly smoothly and effortlessly fall into place. And so I think I'm doing the one in a few weeks, and because it falls on dinner time, I've actually taken the one where I know that there's a park there at the same place that the orienteering is on. So I'm going to take the little kids to the park while Josh is doing his orienteering. There's also a barbecue and things there. So I'm going to cook dinner at the same time. And then just take everybody home after that. But it's sometimes rare to be able to find that.
Yeah.
It's frustrating when you don't find it as well. I've been in both situations where I'm like, seriously, all these people are coming from almost the same spot and we're all stressed out of our brains, and why won't people just cooperate? Sorry, there's a frog in my throat.
You're good.
Tickle my throat.
So how did that come about? So like, you and I, our collaboration was completely different. We were what we called voluntold. So, in our mastermind, everyone had this great idea that we should do a podcast together, right? And a lot of ulterior motives as to why it was you and I, Linda, and what kind of growth it's going to give for us, the experience, all those things business-wise and relationship-wise. But when it comes to us moms and figuring out a carpool situation, what is that's getting us together to do that? And how do we start? Because I know I'm terrified to start a conversation with another mom. And, where do we even begin to come up with a carpool conversation? I'm not there yet. I haven't had those experiences. You are there.
Well, this is also for my eldest, who's 12, 13. Like, these are 12, 13-year-olds. So they'd already sort of put that plan into place without us trying too hard.
There you go. Okay.
So, and because there were 4 or 5 of them, I think. And then there was a Facebook group started, a message group started, which I didn't know anything about actually, because I'm not really on Facebook very much for my own time management. So that was all organised, but I was also sent a message basically saying, "Hey, would you like to share the load?" And then I sent one back saying with a capital yes. And then sent one very quickly after that. I said, "Oh, I don't mean to be too enthusiastic. I'm just a bit excited about." And I also know that the orienteering is only for about 6 weeks. So it's not heavy. It's not like we need to plan too far in advance.
Yeah.
It's only a twilight series. So
And that's also great, like, time frame that you're not
yeah.
committed for a full year, you're only committed for a short amount of time, and that's kinda like what
Yeah.
we did as well, like, we put a time frame on 13 weeks and we'll reassess.
Mhm.
So I think
Mhm.
that's really smart move for a lot of the
Mm.
things that we plan out, especially when it does involve other people to collaborate with. Because what
Yeah.
if it
Yeah.
doesn't work out? But in this
Yeah.
case, it's just over.
Mm. Mm. Jill, I also feel like that's some of what you're also doing with your village as well. So your
Mm,
hub is very much about finding community and support and help and other, you know, other collaborations in a way,
mm,
even if it's only through conversation. Do you
yeah.
wanna talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I guess you well, Linda, that's a good point. Like, you think conversation isn't collaboration because it's having a conversation.
Mm. Mhm.
But you're
Mhm.
like, it was brainstorming then collaboration. Like, there's collaboration in so much that we just don't put the name to it. Because if
Yep.
we're sitting here brainstorming on, well, what are some ways that we can heal our minds or our bodies this week? And,
Yeah.
like,
Mm.
where are your struggles? How can we work through that together or, support you? And it takes the load off. I think your excitement shines through in that example for sharing the load for the school
Mm.
drop off. I mean, for the orientation, orientation, orienteering. That's it. Orienteering. I gotta remember what the word is.
Mm.
That it, like, yes, I will share the load. The attitude in Mom Outspoken Village, I think, is what stands out for me and what I want in that collaborative space is that, yes, I want to share the load with you so you're not carrying that burden alone.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
let's talk it out and figure out how we can make shifts for that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm. It can be tricky though, too,
Sure.
to definitely reach out, as you said, and start that conversation and reach out and feel like you can ask for help. And we've talked about this before, with your neighbor and with your other friends sometimes where you don't want to be in any trouble or you don't want to interfere as well.
Yeah. Well, we'll use this as an example then. Like, I don't want to interfere, but I keep getting the encouragement that it's not a burden, it actually helps out. So my neighbor has been taking Declan quite
Mm.
frequently now in the evenings, and she's like, "Just send him over. He's a big help." Like, it gets me the ability to go ahead and cook dinner, and because they keep
Yeah.
both, he's keeping both her 4.5
Mhm.
year old and her 4-month-old occupied for her, so she has a minute to just go do whatever she needs to do.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
like, "Are you
true.
sure? Because that's chaotic, like, I can't handle all that here." But I take that load for a different reason, so on nights that we have mastermind, I
Mm.
actually do take her daughter well, my sister takes her daughter with Declan and watches them because we're in mastermind and I need to focus. So, Tuesdays, my sister gets the kids, and then pretty much like every
Yeah.
other day of the week, my neighbor gets them. But it's
Mm.
like this,
Mhm.
let's share the load part, and
Yeah.
where, it gets the kids' energy out and us a break, it feels like. So,
I feel like that is such a big part of collaboration too, is sharing the load.
mhm.
in a way which is cooperation and strengthening of relationships.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at our, history of collaborating and when we were young and school projects, I mean, did we ever share the load? So, it's a way different than that. And I think there's a lot more responsibility behind the pieces that we are sharing, and
definitely.
that can be a little scary sometimes, especially when we're sharing the load on something that's really personal to us, like one being our kids, two being our vulnerable sides.
Yep.
So it's
self-care.
Yeah.
I see collaboration as self-care. I know this episode we've titled collaboration and self-care, but I think for me, collaboration can be a form of self-care as well.
Especially if you're saying it the way you are, Linda, where collaboration is a way of sharing the load, that right there, lessening our load is self-care.
This podcast would be very different if we were both doing it separately.
Yeah, 100%. Like, I will say, well, take this for instance, like you and I, we share the load on the work for this podcast. And Mama Outspoken podcast and Stories for the Sunday Roast podcast, there are separate, completely alone ones. Even though I host with Bobby and you have guests, they're not lifting a finger for any part of it except the showing up to give you content, to speak with you. And then we are doing that work solo by ourselves to get it produced and out there. And that's heavy. So I like the light lift that this podcast brings us for the reminder of it is easy when we have others with us. So it's okay that the other one is a little hard for right now. I'm sure there'll be a team behind us one day for our podcasts.
One day.
So I think we get to appreciate the light lift and the heavy lift when it comes to the business side, as well as what it means in our collaborations for each of those podcasts.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not too late before our episode next week at 100.
Yeah.
We are due to record in the next few days. Tomorrow for you, Wednesday for me, Tuesday for me,
Tuesday for you,
Monday for you, Monday for you, Tuesday. Oh, time zones.
If you have questions or want to interject, you have a couple hours.
Yes, very true. But at the same time, if you are listening to this after the event or in the future or all the rest of it, we also want to thank you from our collaboration corner and from our hearts to yours for listening along and supporting us, because without any listeners, we're sort of just talking to each other and having a great time. And the listeners really do help and encourage us to continue on, not only for 100 episodes, but for 200 or 300 or more, hopefully, as well. So, feel free to reach out to us, either of us at any stage. We've got all the details in the show notes. We've also got an email address as well. Whatever you can fit into your busy lives, we know what it's like. And if you do have any other thoughts on collaboration as well, feel free to reach out.
Yes.
At the same time.
Thank you for that recap, Linda.
Yeah, absolutely welcome. We've done this a few times now.
Just a few.
Just a few.
Thank you again, Linda, for your conversation, and listeners for being here. Until next week.
We hope you can unstuck your muck.
Bye.
Bye.